Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Identity Insights by Indicio. I'm your host, Tim Spring, and today I'm joined by Indicio CTO Ken Ebert, and he's here to discuss the difference between a component solution and a platform solution, and the approach Indicio takes when designing decentralized identity products. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ken. Would you mind starting us off with a little bit about yourself?
I am Ken Ebert, the CTO here at Indicio, one of the co-founders. Glad to be here working on decentralized identity and bringing trusted data ecosystems to governments and businesses around the world. We're engaged in the process of making available technologies that can be easily incorporated into existing systems and deployed around the world.
So when we say a platform solution, I'm wondering if you could break that term down for us. What do we mean when we say a solution is a platform solution?
So typically platform solutions are monolithic. They are hosted by usually somebody else besides you. Usually the offerer of the platform is the one that hosts that type of solution. They put together what they think are the interesting features. They package them all up and provide them for use with APIs. It's usually hosted and run at the offering company's discretion in the cloud or on company premises, but the customer does not have control over the running of that software typically, nor do they have the ability to easily extend or perform complex integrations with other pieces of software. That's one of the disadvantages. One of the advantages of it is that you don't have to run it all. Somebody else is running it for you. So if you're a little tiny company, that might be a good solution for you. If you're a government, sometimes they have regulatory requirements that say that all their data processing must be done within the borders of their jurisdiction, or it must be under their control. So those are some aspects of a platform type of approach that may be difficult for governments or large organizations to adopt. For small companies, having somebody else who backs up your data, monitors your servers, make sure that it's all up and running is an advantage of a platform.
All right. Would you be able to give me any real world examples of maybe some different products that are platform solutions?
So email is typically a platform solution, and everybody's familiar with that one. So when you use Gmail or something equivalent, or if you're really, really old, AOL or Yahoo Mail, those are all hosted platforms. The software doesn't run on your machine. It runs on somebody else's machine, the provider of that service, and you access it through a web interface and tell it what to do, delete that email, compose this email, send that, give me a list of my emails. For a verifiable credentials solution, that's probably not the most flexible way to do it. The hosting does give you advantages of all of the features of that platform are available to you, even if you happen to be unable to run or host that yourself.
All right. So I think from context, people might be able to kind of guess a little bit at this next answer. But when we say a component solution, could you break down that term for us in your own words?
So component solutions are made out of little building blocks, kind of like Legos. If you have a bunch of small components that can be put together to create a larger system, if they're offered in a component fashion, then the end user can decide to put them together. They can follow the instructions on the box and put them together in a particular way, or they can get a little creative and put them together with instead of just one issuer agent, for instance, in a decentralized ecosystem, you might have 5 issuer agents, and you might, instead of having one verifier, you might have 1,000 of them. How you do your hosting of the mobile applications, do you put them on mobile devices or put them in the cloud? All of those things are flexible, and you can do it whichever way you want. Some people like to follow a very rigid pattern, and they could emulate exactly what they got out of a platform solution by putting the components together to mimic that directly. The You might be a little bit more creative. You might say, I don't want to exactly do that particular solution. And you can substitute in parts as you find a better one. For instance, in the Indicio solutions, mediator agents provide fixed endpoints for mobile agents. And we have a mediator agent that has been around for a number of years. We're recently developed a cloud scale mediator. And you can take that mediator and support it and substitute it in for the mediator that was there previously. The system still functions. It has different attributes. It's flexible and you can change things around. Some people might want to substitute in, just like for cars, there are parts made by the original manufacturer, and there are also aftermarket products or other products available from other vendors, so that I don't have to buy my tires from Ford or Toyota. I can buy them from somebody else. But because they interoperate and meet the specifications, they can provide different attributes and qualities that might be more suitable for my solution. At Indicio, the proven ecosystem is built with many components that allow for particular functionality to be offered for each component. But those components can be reconfigured or substituted for other components, either from Indicio or from other providers that follow those protocols and specifications. As long as they're interoperable in what they do, they can be substituted and be quite flexible. Integrations with our components go down to the SDK level for incorporating in other applications, so that you don't have to have the agent be my agent or the one I provided. It can be one that you build or incorporate the functionality into. API access allows for flexibility for integration of systems that may be pre-existing or new systems to interact with and issue credentials or verify and pull the data out of the verification for incorporation in business processes that continue after the verification is complete. That allows for the maximum amount of flexibility. It also meets the requirements for where the data is hosted or where the functionality of the software is hosted. That could be either in on-premise, so the customer host is on their own hardware. It could be done in the cloud, or Indicio could host the software on behalf of an organization and operate it for them. All of those give you more flexibility than a platform does. A platform that pretty much dictates how things are going to be arranged. You may get similar functionality on smaller scale systems, but the more complex and larger they are, the better a component approach is, because it allows for the customer to determine which components are going to be used, whether they all come from a single offer, such as Indicio, or you mix and match parts so that they get the best result possible to achieve the goals of providing the trusted data ecosystem and its interactions with all of the parties who are participating. Sometimes a system will come up against another system, an external system, and those can be incorporated by governance into your system without having to fiddle with the platform or have access to the code. You can simply add additional components that are external to the system that is being offered.
Okay, so you gave us a lot of information there, and I just kind of want to break it down real quick. So when it comes to Indicio's approach for building, it sounds like we mostly take a component-based approach, right? Is that kind of what you were getting at there?
Yeah, we've gone with the component approach because it offers the maximum flexibility to the customer. It allows them to choose. It allows them to have the most ability to customize and the ability to adapt as time goes on. As new and better components come out, they can be individually swapped out without having to upgrade the entire system. So it's the approach that we favor, just because of the flexibility it gives to the end customer.
All right, that makes sense. So when talking about, right, we build proven as like a complete solution, that would be more of a collection of components than a full platform solution, is what you're saying.
some people might view that as a full platform solution because it has all of the functionality that you need. But the fact that it is component based means that you could take 90% of the components that we offer and use 10% to fill in the rest. Some people have obsessed over networks, for instance. We believe that networks are an excellent way to store some of the immutable data, like keys and schemas, but it doesn't have to be our network. It can be somebody else's. And the type of network is even adaptable to various circumstances. As new and interesting protocols and credential representation types come along, a component approach allows for plugging in new protocols and new schema or data representations for the credentials. And that allows for, again, maximum flexibility and interoperability with other solutions.
All right, sounds good. So you also mentioned hosting a little bit in your previous answer. You can either host it with Indicio in the cloud or on your own premises. And I was curious, right, you're in a lot of customer calls. Is there particular benefits that they really look for in terms of where they want to host their solution?
Many customers are very opinionated about where they want their data to be. And they often have very legitimate reasons for that, either security reasons or regulatory reasons. But they have an idea of where they want the data to go, where they want the processing to take place. And we try to be agnostic to not let the determination of that factor to make it impossible for customers to work with us. So if they want it on premise on their own hosted hardware, that's fine. We work with all the major cloud vendors, Google, Amazon, Azure, whoever you want. We assist, and if customers are unable to host themselves or work with a cloud provider directly, then we can host on their behalf and make sure that a system can be operational and run. Some tech companies don't have a deep IT staff, a tech staff to work with. They don't have developers on staff. And so that in some of those cases, it makes sense for them to have somebody else like us or others provide those types of services so that they can get the benefits without having to have the tech staff themselves to do the heavy lifting.
When they're incorporating these different components, right, and it could be a little bit different based on their software and stuff like that, but how plug and play are these components, right? How easy is it to say like, oh, I want that mediator, let's go grab that, and that's the verifier I want, and things like that?
The components are really self-contained, and you're basically trying to fulfill the different roles inside of an ecosystem. If you look at a complete ecosystem, it typically has the main three players are issuers, holders, and verifiers. Mediator agents are there to facilitate mobile interactions. There's ledgers to store the immutable data for lookup and contact points between agents. There's governance that can reside to help determine who are trusted issuers and does those sorts of things, the decentralized ecosystem governance. But all of those pieces are fairly independent and can be selected and or replicated for use in multiple places and scaled and configured as needed. Integrations with agents to help control them as either a source of data or for issuance or a repository for data that's been verified on the other end. Those are all fairly straightforward. Typically, programmers are doing the interfacing between issuers and verifier agents to customize it. But if you just want something vanilla and out of the box, it can work with very little customization or configuration so that you can just be up and issuing credentials in about an hour.
All right, that seems pretty quick.
It can get quicker too, and that's what we're working
on. Awesome. Well, it looks like that is about our time for today. Thank you so much for joining us, Ken. If you at home are interested in verifiable credential technology, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll be continuing to bring you some more educational content. If you have any questions or specific topics that you'd like for us to cover, please go ahead and leave a comment below. We'll be sure to read and address them. Thanks again, Ken. If someone's interested in maybe learning a bit more about what we've talked about here today, where would you suggest they look?
I steer them toward our website in the demo corner, and I think that's an excellent place where they can see the stuff in action and see how it works. It's not that on the top, it's not that complicated. The cryptography at the bottom would put any non-mathematician to sleep, but they don't have to pay attention to that part so much. It's been that's pretty well taken care of. But the focus on your use case and then what types of credentials you want to issue and verify, and that'll get you started.